Hey everybody, welcome to Mobility for Climbers. If this is your first time doing Mobility for Climbers, first of all, welcome. And I just have a couple of things that I want to go over before we get started. So the first is expectations around pain and intensity. One thing that we do not want in this class ever is pain. So if you are doing a movement and you hit a spot that feels pinchy or burny or otherwise painful, just try and move around that spot. And if we're in a stretch or a static position and you start to feel pain, lessen the stretch, come out of the position a little bit until you are no longer feeling that pain. So let's keep it safe, let's keep it fun. And the other thing that I wanted to go over, since you are at home and not in class right now, is props. We're keeping it simple tonight, so the only prop you will need is either one yoga block or like a paperback book, something generally yoga block shaped. Even like a small pillow or cushion would do just fine. So if you want to go ahead and grab your prop, grab a little bit of floor space, and we are ready to get started. We're going to start in a high kneel position tonight for our warm-ups, and as always, we're going to warm up with some controlled articular rotations for our shoulders and our shoulder blades. So starting with the right shoulder, I'm going to try and hold the rest of my body really still here. So I'm going to bring my left hand to my torso. This is going to give me some feedback so I know I'm not twisting around one way or the other. Then I'm going to find a really strong straight right arm, make a fist with the right hand. Then we're going to start to externally rotate through the right shoulder. So point that bicep to the outside of the ring. Then you're going to start to bring that arm across the body. Don't let the torso twist here. Keep bringing that arm up, externally rotated, nice and slow, till you get bicep to ear here, reaching the end of your flexion. And then we're going to start to internally rotate. So now the bicep's going to spin the opposite way as we reach that arm back behind. Be mindful not to let the torso twist back here. Torso stays forward. Slowly lower the hand down, back of hand meets back of thigh. Then we're going to reverse, lifting straight back up into extension, externally rotating as your arm comes up overhead. Keep externally rotating, spin that bicep out as you come across the body and down. Let's do one more rep on this side. So spin that bicep out, come across the body. Bicep coming towards ear, and then internally rotate, spin that bicep the opposite way as you reach the arm behind. Slowly lower down, back of hand meets back of thigh. Pause here and reverse. Lift straight up. Externally rotate as you come overhead. Keep externally rotating as you come down and across. And relax, switch it out onto the other side. Left hand's going to make a fist, straight arm here, externally rotate, start to come across the body. Nice and slow into flexion here. Don't let the spine arch back, shoulders doing the work. And then internally rotate. Once you can't go back any farther, reach that arm behind. Back of hand meets back of thigh, and then lift straight back up. Externally rotated, come overhead. You can feel in your body where that rotation needs to happen. Keep rotating as you come down and across. One more time on this side. Externally rotate, up and across the body. Nice and slow, arm overhead. Internally rotate, reach back behind. Lower down, back of hand meets back of thigh, and reverse straight up into extension. Slowly externally rotate, come up overhead, and keep that rotation going. Keep it rotating, keep it rotating. Arm lands at your side. Go ahead and release there. And I want you to grab your yoga block or similar prop. Hold it out in front of you with straight arms, hands a little bit below your shoulders here. Now we're going to do controlled articular rotations for our shoulder blades. So what you're going to do here is squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. Keep the arms straight as you hold the block here. Slide the shoulder blades all the way up towards your ears. Spread them apart. Slide them all the way down your back. Squeeze together behind you. Slide up. Spread apart, slide all the way down, Squeeze together. Pause here. Now we're going to reverse. You're squeezed together at the bottom. Now go ahead and spread apart as far as they'll go. Slide all the way up. Squeeze together at the top. Slide all the way down. Spread apart. Slide up. Squeeze together. Slide down. Go ahead and release that block down. Next, we're going to move into some range expansion work for our overhead flexion here. So if you've not taken my classes before, range expansion work is trying to gain more range of motion in an area. So if you can currently lift your shoulder up about this far, what we're aiming is to get you a little more range, so maybe you can make it this far. So to do this, we're going to start by getting into a stretch in our end range. So let's start on the right side. I'm going to show you a couple of options here. One option is to come down into a child's pose with that right arm out in front of you. You're looking for a stretch along like your lat and your armpit here. So just settling down, let your forehead come down onto your opposite hand. And maybe you want to bring your block or a couple of books underneath that hand to lift you up a little higher into that shoulder flexion. Another option, if you're not into sitting so deeply on your knees, is to start in a tabletop position, only lower down the upper body, and then come into the same kind of position with the right arm. You can also do this standing against a wall. Just put your right hand against the wall, lean forward to bring yourself into full flexion. It'll be the exact same stretch. So find what works for you, get into that position, and make sure that it is a comfortable enough stretch that you can stay here for 2 minutes, because that's how long we're going to hold it. So just hanging out here, taking some nice deep breaths. In whatever position you're in, keeping the arms straight, palm facing down towards the floor. Maybe lengthening your exhales, helping your body relax into this stretch. The reason we hold the stretch for 2 minutes before range expansion work is to bypass our body's stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is a natural protective mechanism that keeps us from moving too far into a particular range of motion. But when you hold a stretch for a long time, your body starts to realize that you're safe there, and it gives you access to your very end ranges of motion. And then once you can get into that range of motion, you can strengthen there. And once you're strong there, then your body's not going to keep you from getting into that space anymore. It'll take longer, greater range of motion for that stretch reflex to kick in. Almost there with the stretch. So from this position, you're going to start to press your hand down into the block, the floor, the wall, whatever's supporting you, like you're trying to push out of the stretch. Start to push a little harder and a little harder until you're at about 40% of your maximum effort here. So it's starting to feel like work, but you could still go a good bit harder and hold at that 40% effort range. Breathe here. Go ahead and relax that contraction, stay right where you are, and then try and lift that hand off of
of the block. It's probably not actually going to move anywhere, but you're contracting through the back of the shoulder, actively pulling yourself deeper into the stretch. Breathe here just a few seconds. And relax back into the stretch. You might find that after the first set, you're able to stretch a little deeper. So maybe if you're using the yoga block for support, make it a little taller here. I'm just going to rest for a few seconds before we go into our second set. Alright, one more time, just like the first set, start to press that hand down into the block, the floor, the wall. Keep pressing harder and harder. This time we're going to ramp up the intensity, maybe going to 60, 70, 80% effort, really pushing hard here if it feels good for you. If it's too intense, just stop at what feels like a good level where you're working but it still feels good, and hold there. Keep breathing, keep pushing. And relax that contraction, and then immediately try and lift that hand off the block if you can. It's probably not going to move. That's okay. Just fight for it. Try as hard as you can to lift that hand off the block. And relax. Go ahead and come on out. Find just an easy seat here. And then we're going to bring this right arm straight out to the side like a goalpost arm. And then we're just going to slowly rotate down into internal rotation. Keep that elbow even with the shoulder. Then rotate back up into external rotation. Just find a few reps of this, moving nice and slow at your own pace. Relaxing there. Now we're just going to slowly bring that arm up overhead into flexion and lower back down. Once again, just a few times here. And then let's go ahead and set up on the other side. So finding end range of flexion for our left arm now. You can take the same setup on this side as you did on the other side, or you can do something different. Bodies are asymmetrical, so just find what feels good on this side. Once you're settled in, we are going to again hold this for 2 minutes. Trying to breathe evenly, relax as much as possible here. If you guys can hear that music right now, just know that Rockmill is absolutely jamming on this Tuesday night. Halfway through the stretch. Nice long exhales, helping your body relax. Alright, so when you're ready, start to press that left hand down into the block, the floor, the wall, wherever you are, slowly ramping up tension to about 40% of your max effort, and hold here, like you're trying to push out of the stretch. Keep breathing. Relax that contraction and then try and lift that hand off of the block. It's probably not going to move, that's okay, but try as hard as you can, lifting from the shoulder here. And relax back into the stretch. Once again, maybe you've opened up a little bit of space here. Breathing deep, doing your best to recover. Relaxing through the shoulder as much as possible. Let all that work go. And last set here, start to press that hand down into the block. Slowly ramping up tension. This time, let's get up to 60 or 70 or even 80% of your max effort. Really working here. Keep breathing. And releasing that contraction. Try and hover the hand off the block. Trying as hard as you can to lift that hand. And relax. Go ahead and come on out. Sit on up. Once again, find that cactus arm out to the side with your left arm and just find a little rotation. Trying to make this movement as smooth as possible. It might feel really hard since your shoulder's pretty gassed right now. Relaxing there. Find a straight arm and just lift straight up into flexion a few times. Trying not to let your back arch at the top of this movement. Just letting it be pure shoulder. One more time here. All right, now we're going to come down to lie on our stomachs. We're going to bring our yoga block out to the right side, even with our shoulder. We're going to bring our elbow right on top of this yoga block You could also use a pillow or two here instead of a yoga block, just something to cushion the elbow and lift it up off of the floor a little bit. We're going to make a fist with the right hand. And then from here, we're just going to lift that fist straight up, pivoting on the elbow up into external rotation of the shoulder. Hold here at the top. Very slowly with control, lower down. Take a breath. Once again. Externally rotate, hold at the top, fighting for height here. And with control, lower down. Lift it up. Hold at the top, really trying to find that end range of rotation. Lower slow. Two more here. Lift and hold. Lower down. Last one. Rotate up. Hold here. Really working through the back of the shoulder. Might be shaky, that's good. Keep fighting for it. Stay at that end range. Don't let the arm drop. And with control, lower down. Go ahead and switch on out to the other side. Yoga block comes over to the left. Elbow coming to rest on the block. And then pivoting back into external rotation. Holding at the top. And lower down. Lift up and hold. Lower down. Lift and hold. Nice and slow. Lift and hold. Lower with control. Two more. Lift and hold. Slow. Last one. Lift and hold at the top. Keep breathing. And lower down. Nice and slow. Go ahead and set that block off to the side. We're going to stay lying on our stomachs here. And we're going to bring our fists down to our sides. And you're going to find as far forward as you can bring your fists. So what you're doing here is bringing those shoulders further into extension. So the closer down to your hips you have your fists, the less shoulder extension you have. The higher up you have your fists, the more shoulder extension you have. So just finding your sweet spot here. Then from this position, the upper arms are going to try and stay in the exact same position. We're going to hover our fists off the ground and then straighten the arms, so coming into extension. Once again, we're going to hold at the top here. And bend the elbows, bring the fists back to the mat, relax. One more time, hover the fists, straighten the arms. Hold an extension, try and keep those fists squeezing it tight. What we don't want to see is them drifting way out to the side. You want your fists right in line with your shoulders here. And bend the elbows, lower those fists down. Once again, hover the fists, straighten the arms. Bend the elbows, fists find the floor, relax. Hover the fists, straighten the arms. The elbows, relax. 2 more here. Cover the fists, straighten the arms. Hold at the top. Bend the elbows, relax. Last one, best one. Hover those fists, straighten the arms, hold here, keep breathing. With control, bend the elbows, nice and slow, fists find the mat. And go ahead and relax. Come on out of that. Take any movements you need, maybe rolling out the shoulders a few times, rolling out the neck. And that concludes the shoulder portion of tonight's class. So let's go ahead and move on to some wrist stuff. So let's start out with some controlled articular rotations for our wrists. We're going to do one arm at a time here. So bringing your right forearm to face up, find a karate chop hand with this right hand. Then you're going to start to extend your fingers back down towards the floor. Point those fingers in towards the midline of your body as you start to bring the fingers up towards the ceiling. Try and keep that forearm facing straight up as you point those fingers out and extend back down. One more time that direction. Going in and up. Keep that forearm still. You can even hold on to it with the left hand if it's really wanting to rotate here. Slowly rotating out and back. Pause here in extension. Let's change direction. So now pointing the fingers out as we come up. In and down. Don't let that forearm rotate. One more time. Out and up. In and down. Pause here in extension, and then let's go ahead and switch out to the other side. So left forearm's gonna stay nice and still here. If you want like a mega challenge, you can balance your yoga block on your left forearm, but I would just drop it a bunch of times and it would be loud, so I'm not gonna do that, but you can in the privacy of your own home. So go ahead and find that karate chop hand. Start to extend the fingers back. Go in towards the midline of the body, pointing up towards the ceiling. Out and down. Really trying to find the edges of your range of motion here. Once again, in and up. Out and back. Pause here in extension. Let's change direction. So going out and up. Really find that end range of flexion here, trying to point those fingertips towards the ceiling, starting to reach in and back. And one more time in this direction, keep the forearm still as you come out and up, in and back. the hands a shake. We're going to do a little bit of range expansion work for our wrist extension. So bringing the backs of the hands back towards the forearms. So you can do this in two different setups. I'm going to show a tabletop setup here. So I'm going to come on all fours, fingers spread wide on the floor here, and then I'm just going to gently rock forward, finding the end range of my wrist extension. But you can also do the same thing against a wall, just placing your hands on the wall and sliding them down the wall to find your end range. So find whichever setup works best for you. This tabletop setup is a little bit more weight and load in the wrists, so if that bothers your wrists or your elbows, the wall setup might be a little bit better. Once again, we're going to hold this for 2 minutes. We're going to stretch both sides at once here, and then we're only going to work one side at a time. But breathing nice and deep. Halfway there with the stretch. Keep breathing. And wrists can be finicky, so if the stretch starts to feel too intense, feel free to rock back out of it a little bit or try out the setup against the wall instead. Do right hand first here. You're going to start to press that right palm into the ground like you're trying to push out of the stretch. Slowly ramping up tension until you're at about 40% of your max effort. Hold here and breathe. Try and keep the left hand as relaxed as possible. Relax that contraction, and then try and pull the back of the right hand towards the right forearm, actively pulling yourself deeper into the stretch here. Activating all those muscles in the back of the hand, the back of the wrist. Relax that right hand. Make sure you're still in your end range with the left hand, and let's do the same thing on the left. Start to press the palm down into the mat, trying to push out of the stretch. Ramping up to about 40% effort, holding here. Relax that contraction, and then try and pull that back of the left hand off of the mat. You're trying to pull the back of the hand to the forearm. Let those fingers get light on the mat. Keep breathing. This can be super intense. And relax both wrists, just coming back into the stretch. relaxing here, trying not to hold any residual tension in those wrists. Then let's come back to the right hand, pressing that palm into the mat, slowly ramp up tension. Maybe you go a little harder this time, 60, 70%. Maybe not. Wrists can be pretty picky. Finding an effort level that works for you and holding here. Still breathing. Relax that contraction and then let those fingers get light on the mat, trying to pull the back of the hand toward the forearm, actively pulling yourself deeper into the stretch. That right hand right over to the left. Start to press the palm into the mat, trying to push out of the stretch. Ramping up maybe a little more this time. 50, 60, 70% effort. Breath staying steady. That contraction, try and pull the back of the hand toward the forearm. Maybe fingers even lift off the mat. Keep breathing. And relax. Go ahead and come on out. Finding a little movement through the wrists here. Just flexing and extending, maybe rotating out a little bit, whatever feels good. Once your wrists start to feel recovered, we're going to stretch them the opposite way into wrist flexion. So from an easy seat or a low kneel here, bring the backs of your hands to the floor. Gently finding that end range of flexion, maybe even rocking in and out of the stretch here, since we just came from that super deep extension stretch. Once you get comfortable, finding nice karate chop hands here, tight fingers. Now we're going to try and hold our wrists at exactly this angle and gently lift them up off the floor. So just rocking back a little bit. Hold the wrists in flexion. And relax back down into the stretch. Come back to that end range. If you've been in a few of my classes before, you might recognize these as passive range holds, where we find the end of our passive range. Then we try and lock that joint in place and hold it there without the support. So once again, find those strong karate chop hands. Really pull yourself into that flexion and then hover the wrists up off the floor. Holding here. And release back down. Find that end range once again. There's always going to be a little lag between your active range and your passive range. But this is a good way to start to close that gap. Once again, glue that wrist in place. Try not to let the angle change as you lift the wrist up off the ground. Release back down. 2 more here. Almost done with the work today. You got this. that wrist in place, lift them up. And release back down. Last one, best one here. Lock them in place, lift them up and hold. Trying to bring the palm to the forearm. You're pulling so hard to hold this flexion. Keep breathing. And relax. Go ahead and release the wrist here. Once again, find any wrist movements that feel good, maybe opening, closing the hands, rotating the wrists out. And go ahead and find either a comfortable seat, a lying down position, or a child's pose. Somewhere where you can relax and settle in. We're going to end our class tonight, as always, with a short meditation. And the reason why we do this is because after you practice new motor skills, if you spend a few minutes sitting in silence and just letting your mind wander, then your nervous system will actually replay all of those movements and motor skills you just practiced, and it's like hitting the save button on your work. So this is a super important part of our practice. So that is why we do it every single class. So go ahead and settle in, let your eyes close. Start to notice your breath here. Your exhales get a little bit longer than your inhales. If you find yourself getting stuck on a thought, getting distracted, just come back to your breath. Bring your attention back to those long exhales. nice deep breath here. Go ahead and open your eyes. Thank you guys so much for joining me for a special at-home edition of Mobility for Climbers. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. See you next Monday.